Before I begin today's story, I want to speak directly to someone. You know who you are. You are the woman who has been carrying everything alone, the woman whose phone stopped ringing, whose circle got smaller, whose plans fell apart, whose relationships quietly disappeared, one by one, until one day she looked around and realized she was alone, and she asked God, "Why?" My dear friend, today's story is your answer. Let us begin. Once upon a time, there was a woman named Sara. Sara had always been the strong one, the one who showed up for everyone, the one who gave and gave and gave without ever asking for anything back. She had friends, many of them. She had plans, beautiful ones. She had a life that looked, from the outside, perfectly full, but somewhere inside, in a place she rarely visited, Sara did not know who she was anymore. She had spent so long being what everyone needed her to be that the original Sara, the real one, had gotten very quiet, very lost, very small. Then the season came, not all at once, slowly, quietly, the way a tide goes out. You only notice when the shore is empty. First, a friendship ended, one that Sara had invested years in, gone, without explanation, without warning. Then a relationship she had hoped in fell apart. Then a plan she had built carefully collapsed. Then another friend drifted away. Then another, until Sara found herself sitting in her room one evening, looking at her phone, completely silent, and realizing she had no one to call. She cried, not gently, deeply, the kind of crying that comes from somewhere very old and very real. Why is everyone leaving? What did I do wrong? Am I not enough? Did I not give enough? Did I not love enough? She sat in that silence for a long time. Then something happened. In that complete silence, with no one left to perform for, no one left to be strong for, no one left to take care of, Sara did something she had not done in years. She talked to God, not a polished prayer, not careful words, just everything, all of it, the confusion, the hurt, the loneliness, the questions, the anger, the exhaustion of always giving, the grief of feeling unseen. She poured it all out, and in that emptiness, something extraordinary happened. The silence, that had felt like abandonment, began to feel different, not empty, full of something she could not name, but could feel in her chest, like warmth returning to cold hands. In the weeks that followed, something beautiful began, with no one demanding her attention. Sara began to pay attention to herself for the first time in years. She asked herself questions that she had been too busy to ask before. What do I actually love? What makes me come alive? What were my dreams? Before I started living for everyone else's, she started writing. She had always loved writing, but never had time. She started walking in the mornings. She started reading again. She started sitting with herself without running from the silence. And slowly, beautifully, like a woman remembering her own name, Sara began to return to herself. Not the Sara who existed for others, but the original Sara, the real one, the one God had always known, even when she had forgotten her. Open booked the realization. One quiet morning, Sara sat by her window with a cup of tea, watching the light come through the curtains, and she understood something that changed everything. The people who left were not a punishment. They were a gift. Every friendship that ended had been taking more than it gave. Every relationship that fell apart had been built on the wrong foundation. Every plan that collapsed had been pulling her away from the path that was truly hers. God had not abandoned her. God had cleared the space, removed the noise, quieted the distractions, so that she could finally, in the silence, hear something she had not been able to hear for a very long time. Her own voice, her own truth, her own worth. She whispered, "You were not punishing me. You were preparing me." Sara did not get everyone back. She did not need to. What came after was different, better, more real. The relationships that returned were genuine. The friendships that grew were nourishing. The plans that formed were aligned with who she truly was. And Sara, the woman who once had everyone, but had lost herself, now had fewer people, but had found the most important one, herself and God. And in that, she had everything. So, friends, if you are in a season where everyone seems to be leaving, where your circle is shrinking, where your plans are falling apart, where the silence feels unbearable, please hear this. You are not being punished. You are not being abandoned. You are not being rejected. You are being reset. God removes what no longer serves you, not to hurt you, but to make room for what is truly meant for you. The loneliness you feel is not emptiness. It is space, sacred space, for you to finally come back to yourself. So sit in the silence. Talk to God. Ask yourself the questions you've been avoiding. Rediscover the woman who got quiet while she was busy taking care of everyone else. Because when a woman has nothing left but God, she discovers that God was always enough